Dear viewers, thanks for joining us on this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, a PhD holder attempts to commit suicide in front of the Ministry of Higher Education in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. Dr. Lekani Vomo Bridget attempted to commit suicide by consuming poisonous liquid in protest to an administrative instruction for the police to forcefully disperse protesters, notably PhD holders asking for recruitment into the public service. The teachers are bent on continuing with their strike action until they get answers to their plight. A French parliamentarian expresses worries, or better still fears, of a possible genocide in Anglophone Cameroon. In his letter to the French ambassador to the United Nations, the French parliamentarian called on the United Nations Security Council to intervene. Stay with us. An angry PhD holder narrowly saved from death in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, is in a critical health condition, and she is said to have consumed a poisonous substance in protest to an administrative order that is for the police and other forces of law and order to disperse PhD and doctorate holders protesting in front of the Ministry of Higher Education in Yaoundé. And Dr. Lekane Vomo Bridget consumed a poisonous substance during the strike action of 150 PhD and doctorate holders in front of the Ministry of Higher Education. In what is qualified as a suicide attempt, she consumed the poisonous substance in the protest to instructions allegedly from the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Fame Ndongo, for the police and of course forces of law, other forces of law and order to disperse the protesters, and of course the denouncing irregularities in the recruitment of 2,000 doctorate and PhD holders ordered by President Paul Biya. According to the protesters, the recruitment process was characterized by injustice and undue considerations given to some persons who were not supposed to be part of the special recruitment, while some of those who fulfilled the necessary conditions were simply sidelined. And a case in point is that of 45-year-old Dr. Lekane Vomo Brigitte, and she had been working as assistant lecturer at the University of Yaoundé 2 for over 12 years, and she recently lost her job because the internal rules and regulations of the University of Yaoundé 2 set the age limit for assistant lecturers at 41. The strike action continues. Take a listen to some of the striking lecturers in this extract.
I've been teaching in the University of Yaoundé 1 since 2011, and then up to now, this is my 10th year of teaching in the university. And so in 2011, when recruitment was launched, we were excluded. At that time, I was 40. It was not even about that time I was waiting for my attestation to come out, so I didn't postulate at that time. But with the hope that in the university we were going to be recruited, we requested for that recruitment. Quite all right. But unfortunately, those who are recruited are not those who asked for the recruitment. We who are now qualified as more than 45 years of age, I think we have saved the state. And honestly, the state should also see to it that if people can save the state for this time for nothing, then the state should also reciprocate. And so we have observed that if we cannot be included in this recruitment, a special status should be established for those of us who are part-timers, because it is unfair for you to teach students and they employ the student and leave you. When you are teaching in the same university, you will see your student to come and replace you.
Minister of State, Professor Fame Ndongo, sent to us some of his collaborators to ask up to come and meet him. But the fact is that we have decided not to go there, but to stay right here, so that if there is any discussion, we can discuss here, not upstairs. We expect to be recruited, and we are not going to quit here without recruitment of all those we have been abandoned in that list.
And the secondary education sector in the Republic of Cameroon is equally plagued by several challenges. Many of the schools, especially in the remote parts of the country, in very bad situations. Some of the schools in shortage of or lack adequate buildings, or better still, infrastructures for the teaching and learning process, as well as equipments and qualified teachers. And one of such schools is the Government Technical High School Manengole in the Mongo Division, Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. The school recently received some material aid from some elites of Lonako subdivision in the Mongo Division. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
Government Technical High School Manengole, situated in Lonako subdivision in the Mongo Division, is plagued with several developmental challenges, such as shortage of equipment facilities for training, ill-equipped workshop facilities such as laboratories and libraries, and a lack of funds for the maintenance of few equipment. This establishment, few years back, was a pride of most students, but today it has now become a shadow of itself. All these challenges were raised during the open door day of the institution. We have 33 classrooms, but we are in need of 35 classrooms. We are equally in need of a library. Because of the shortage of buildings, we were forced to use a classroom as an administrative block. It is against this backdrop that the elites of Lonako decided to offer assistance to the establishment. We offered them 12 desktops, a projector, a photocopy machine, reams of paper, and a first aid box. We promised coming back to offer assistance after we must have gathered enough funds. We are facing several difficulties, though some of them have been addressed. A lot more has to be done. We pray others could equally help us. Though assistance has been offered to ameliorate the conditions of the school authorities say a lot more has to be done.
An international pressure continues piling on President Paul Biya and the government of the Republic of Cameroon over the Anglophone crisis. A French parliamentarian, in his letter to the French ambassador to the United Nations organization, is expressing fears of a genocide in Anglophone Cameroon. He calls on the United Nations Security Council to intervene as soon as possible. For me, I'm Sandra Farage in details.
The prominent French lawmaker Sébastien Nador, in his letter to Ambassador Nicole de Rivière, French ambassador to the United Nations, demands the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, notably France, the United States of America, Russia, China and Britain, to intervene in the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, formerly British Southern Cameroon. Reminding France and the world of the gravity of the Anglophone crisis, the French member of parliament say over 3,000 people have been killed in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, with about 800,000 persons displaced internally and externally in the northwest and southwest regions. The French member of parliament regrets that more than 4 million Anglophones have been handicapped and left in dire need of humanitarian assistance, and more than 600,000 children deprived of schools for 3 years and running in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. The member of parliament of the French National Assembly, in his letter, also expressed fears of a possible genocide in Cameroon if the United Nations fails to intervene to stop the killings. Citing François Landry, the United Nations Secretary General Special Representative in the Central African sub-region, calling on the world to intervene in the crisis in Cameroon during the just-ended UN Security Council meeting, the MP says something must be done in Cameroon and fast. Considering the historic relations between Cameroon and France, Sebastien Nadeau said France should not be silent, but take the case of the worsening Anglophone crisis to the international community.
And as the Anglophone crisis deepens further with devastating consequences on the people and, of course, their properties and the economy of the two Anglophone regions and the entire nations, some civil society organizations are now stepping up efforts to enhance the promotion of positive thinking, inclusion, tolerance, and non-violence, the culture of non-violence in the people of the northwest and southwest regions of the country. This was the focus of a colloquium organized in the northwest regional character Bamenda. Stella reports.
Over the last 3 years, Cameroon has been divided over the identity of one part, the Anglophone part of the country. What started as a protest led by teachers and lawyers has soon grown into an armed conflict, with some of them becoming victims to what is today known in some areas as the struggle for independence of the southern Cameroons.
The fact that reunification was negotiated on the basis of federalism, it was left for the post-independent Cameroon government to sustain the federal structure in order to preserve the identity of the southern Cameroonians. But unfortunately, the evolution of our history in the post-independent period shows that the governments of Ahidjo and later Biya did not sustain the measures that was to preserve the identity of the southern Cameroon's territory.
Since the start of deadly clashes between the separatist fighters and members of Cameroon's defense and security forces, lives have been shattered, villages razed, families separated, with some separated for life. Therefore, the impact of the crisis has only grown from bad to worst.
The inability to cry for and bury your own parent is something you can never measure. And so many people have had their parents dead, their loved ones dead. They haven't been given the opportunity even to bury them, let alone to mourn them.
During a one-day colloquium organized by the Community Initiative for Sustainable Development with acronym COMINSUIT, Father Tatambui, one of the speakers, says the Bishop's Memorandum of December 22, 2016 offers to broker peace by international bodies, the major national dialogue amidst opportunities at bringing peace. He opines that the February 2020 twin elections could be put on hold.
Is this the real problem we have now? Is that the real worry of Cameroonian elections? We have allowed the parliamentarians their term to be extended. So why can't it be further extended? And we resolve our problems and go about an issue that should be.
According to Raymond Genti, a PhD research student at the University of Bamenda, the historical and diplomatic miscalculations by the national and international committees could be corrected by recognizing the bicultural nature of Cameroon.
All what we have as marginalization, economic exploitation, socio-educational neglect or whatever of southern Cameroon, and assimilation and annexation, whatever, are manifestation of a monumental change that took place in 1972. It is important that we recognize the fact that we are dealing with two cultures and take measures to preserve those cultures.
In order to promote positive thinking, inclusion, tolerance and non-violence amongst Cameroonians, there is the need to start protecting the countrymen and women, for by doing so, the image of the country will be protected.
Coming up, EQUINOXE takes us through the numerous potholes, cracks and broken tar on National Highway number 5, the stretch of road linking the country's economic capital Douala and Konsamba in the Mongo division is in an advanced state of dilapidation. His report.
The National Road number 5 is one of the highways claiming lives in Cameroon. Over 100 lives are estimated to perish on this road yearly. Road users decry craters in the middle of the road. On the Nkong-Samba-Douala stretch of roads, several accident cases have been registered last month. Absence of road signs is said to be another major cause of accidents here, coupled with reckless driving. In this case, the road is far from being the cause. It is reckless overtaking attempts by driver of the white Toyota pickup vehicle. Fortunately, no life was lost. Few kilometers from the spot, another accident is witnessed. A trailer transporting a container that overturned off the road. The accident, sources say, occurred in the night. The talk of poor visibility to be cause of the accident. Poor visibility brought about by the thick bushes which have extended to the road.
C'est très délicat. Regardez les bambous de la route. Au niveau de Mbangala, après où c'est le lycée technique, il y a une vallée là. Bon, les camions là-bas, ça... beaucoup de voitures qui se renversent là-bas.
Potholes also cause heavy-duty vehicles overturn on daily basis.
C'est à ce niveau. Ça renverse les véhicules tous les jours, mais on constate toujours que rien n'est fait.
Drivers on this road stretch are often compelled to drive in the opposite path to avoid entering into the uncountable craters.
Voilà une situation que nous, on venait de vivre. Le chauffeur ne pouvait rien faire. C'est rien que ce qu'il a fait là, il ne devait pas ni aller ni à gauche ni à droite. C'est rien que de cette position-là qu'il pouvait s'en sortir. Mais en fait s'en sortir, maintenant il a fait tonneau.
In other areas, the tar has completely disappeared. These states of roads have implanted fear within road users.
Les creux partout, les voitures sont obligées de quitter les côtés en esquivant et puis parfois ils se retrouvent face à face, c'est dangereux.
Nous qui voyageons tout le temps, c'est un risque pour nous.
Clandestine transportation with some drivers without driver's license is another phenomenon criticized on these national roads with several checkpoints. Statistics published by government revealed that in December 2018, the nation registered 8,669 deaths from 22,314 road accidents in the past 8 years. Thus, 1,000 lives lost each year.
On our cultural page in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast, we're going to take you to the Senegal Maritime Division in the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, where we're going to show you the rich cultural heritage of the people exhibited through or in the Mpo Cultural Festival. Immaculate Folkwe has more.
The 71st edition of the Mpo Cultural Festival was celebrated this year on the theme Peace and Fraternity. The 10-day festival, held every year by the people of Ide and the Senegal Maritime Division, is meant to call on their ancestral spirits to take care of them. This year's theme was inspired by the socio-political crisis in the country. We hope that peace could reign. The new executive bureau of the Mpo Cultural Association was equally installed. Congratulations to the new president and his collaborators. Wish them a prosperous stay in office. Long live the Mpo culture, long live Bako, and yes to the return of peace and normalcy in our country. The Mpo Festival was characterized by several activities such as trade fairs, musical and cultural animations, seminars that trained young persons and women, traditional wrestling, canoe race on the Senegal Maritime River, and the election of Miss Mpo. The festivity continued in the municipal stadium of the area in fanfare and pageantry.
Up next, Talking Point. Thanks for joining us in Talking Points. We are receiving the mayor of Iyabasi in the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. He is the national president of the Republican Alliance political party. Mr. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening to all the televiewers of Equinox Television.
International pressure continue mounting or piling on the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, and the government of Cameroon over the deepening Anglophone crisis. And the latest came from a French parliamentarian who wrote a letter to the French ambassador to the United Nations organization, indicating or expressing fears of a possible genocide in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. What's your take on this pressure that continues mounting on the head of state and his government over the Anglophone crisis?
I think that it's normal that the international community is being concerned with humanitarian situation of all this region. It's now more than 3 years the war is going on. We have a lot of children outside, many refugees in many other areas of Cameroon and even abroad. We have a lot of people dying in our army forces, in the
within the ranks of the civilians,
in the rank of the civilian, and so on. So we cannot longer bear the situation. We need to unite and see how to face the situation. That's why all the international community is being concerned actually, and we wish the government will find out the diplomatic solution on this crisis, because it's no more concerned only by the military and so on. All the society is being mad actually, because you can have many areas of our economic activity that is going very bad, and we need also to have good relation with our partners. So I think the European Union is also welcome, helping us solving that crisis. America is also welcome, because our country is really bleeding financially, bleeding as a human being. We are really bleeding, and our suffering is not at our only level. When you hear about the budget reconstructing the Anglophone region, you have more than 3,500 billion to be provided so that we can build back Anglophone region. Is a huge amount of money.
The killings have continued, the destruction of properties have continued after the residence of the Vice President of the National Assembly, Honorable Joseph Mbandam Mpatibe, was set ablaze. Last night was the turn of the Mayor of Kumbu, John Donatus, whose residence was equally set ablaze. The destruction have continued, and the French parliamentarian foresees a genocide in those two regions. What do you think about this?
I think I've said that before. Considering the ratio of forces on the ground, our military are powerful and well equipped than those fighters. I think we will be very surprised at the end of this crisis. We'll find that we have many people died because of this crisis. I said that before. The best solution was non-violence, but since they decided to go for war option, I'm very sad of that option, strategic option. That strategic option is a bloody option. I'm very sure that at the end of this crisis we'll be very sad, just like a mother that lost all his children. And I wish the international community to do the best so that we can sit again on one table and discuss for a peaceful solution of this crisis.
The French parliamentarian in his letter to the ambassador of France in the United Nations says that the UN Security Council should intervene. The United Nations should intervene. Will that be a positive option?
You know, when you cannot by yourself stop a fight, somebody else should intervene. I think that's what the last option will have, because either the Amazonian, if I can say that, or the government, nobody wants to drop down the gun. We can no more observe that just like we are indifferent of what is going on. We know that if nobody intervenes, we can fight for more than 20 years without stopping. And all people will be crying, dying, and so on. And I think somebody should do something. And if it's the United Nations, why not? We need peace. All the councils are suffering. I have many refugees in Yabasi having voting card who will not vote just because they are not registered on Yabasi list. That is just
they are
like
registered in their areas in the northwest and southwest.
Yes, they are registered in northwest and southwest, but they will not vote in Yabasi because they are not registered on Elecam list. That is just we are going towards an apartheid democracy. Why we should be observing without acting up to now? We need someone to do something in emergency, because all those people dying are Cameroonians. No matter the problem we are facing, all those guys are Cameroonians. And we need someone to do something in emergency because our country is healing.
As a politician who has a mastery of the functioning of state institutions and state mechanisms, why is it difficult to call for a ceasefire? What is so difficult about it, calling for a ceasefire in those two regions?
You know, what the government is saying, nobody can take weapon against a government. That is the main reason. And the government has to defend itself. What I can understand. But for 3 years now, we are facing a situation where all the economy is down. All the financial structure are down. All the system, all the normal functioning of our nation is being just sacked up because of that crisis. We need to bring all the refugees back to their homes. We need to give a new speed to our economy so that everyone can find a job, have a sustainable revenue, and so on. We need to pass over all this selfishness attitude and go to a Republican attitude so that we can face and sit down. If we cannot learn to live as brothers, we are all going to die just like rats. I think we need actually somebody to help us to stop this crisis, stopping the crisis by talking to both parts so that everyone can understand. It's time now for us to drop down the guns and discuss like human beings.
Can the Swiss mediation help?
Everyone can help. The Swiss mediation also. They are welcome. I think what we need now is stopping the crisis, stopping the bleeding and so on, and putting our economy up so that every youth can find a job, our economy can take back its growth and face the international competition as far as all our economic sectors are concerned. So we need all the southwest and northwest region to understand that we need to discuss. The government should also understand that it's time for us to discuss. We have been fighting for so long time. It's the time for us to believe, to behave as human beings and drop down the gun for forgiveness, and bring out a white flag so that Cameroon can raise up.
Government has been struggling in its own way to restore peace and normalcy in those two regions. And one of the major and recent actions of the government is concerns the content of the special status as defined in the law that is being examined by lawmakers at the National Assembly. When you look at the special status part of that law, do you have the impression that it can produce anything positive? It can change the situation on the ground?
You know, we are a republic, and the man ruling the nation is President Paul Biya. He has a project of society. Regarding the crisis, he decided to make some effort so that we can start thinking about another options. The special status for me is a beginning that should go on improving with political proposals coming from all parties. In very few years, I think we are going to face another presidential election. It's time for all those candidates to prepare a sustainable proposal to all these regions. I think on behalf of human beings, we should accept every improvement for now. I will not say it's not enough. We were asking for autonomy of all this region, self-administration of all this region. I think the special status provides something like that, even though it can be faced by, it can be observed like not enough for what they have been asking. I think we should take that first step to improve our living condition and try to overcome the crisis for peace, unity, and development of all this region.
Recently on your Facebook page, you said the laws of a country take into account the socio-political context, and you equally indicated that Cameroon was conceived by the regime in place as a national cake, reason why the decentralization law reflects that stand or that idea, that point of view of those who are governing Cameroon. When you look at that special status bill, does it reflect the socio-political context, notably of the northwest and southwest regions of the country? Can it respond to the aspirations of the people?
I believe for now, the special status can be a beginning of the solution, whereas we have to wait for more proposals in time. Our nation has been considered as a national cake, so all the solutions they have been proposing all these days are just being like a part of the cake, whereas we need to face our nation just like a national construction project, where every energy and every strength is being asked to develop every area. The Anglophone regions in the past have been developing, as all those Anglophones are saying in the social media. I think with the new budgeting plan of the Anglophone region, with the new options of development of all this region, the Anglophone can start thinking their destiny by themselves. I think it's better to have one than nothing. Actually, we have improved in the collaboration with the government. I think all those leaders to start thinking about the people first, not about their political opportunities.
And some politicians and legal minds reacting to the special status part of the bill being examined in Parliament said the special status as defined by that bill is an empty vessel and it's not going to change anything. The institutions, the elected organs that will be put in place, the assembly, the House of Divisional Representatives, the House of Chiefs, the executive arm, and even the regional council will not have a free hand to manage the affairs of the two regions. The assembly, for example, will not enact any laws. They will simply deliberate and end up with deliberations and not laws that will govern the people.
My question will be, is it by staying in the bush that you have everything? I say no. You have to come out from the bush and start building from what you have actually. If there is another problem, then you put that problem on the table. I say they should think first about the living condition of those people living in bush, those refugees staying in Yabasi and many other areas, thinking about building back the country, the northwest region, the southwest region, and so on, and putting every problem they have been facing on the table. We are a growing up country. There will be everyday problems. Is it by staying with weapon in the bush that we will solve our problem? No. As a politician, I think we should sit and discuss. There is something on the table. Let's start with that. I've been mayor for 6 years now. When I became mayor, I was so deceived by what I saw as budgeting plan of my council. I was to resign. But I said I will start with that one. And I've started with that. We denounced all this lack of decentralization and so on. We're on debate every day. You invited me here for the problem in the councils. It's just by debating every day that we can find peaceful solution.
And the question some Cameroonians are asking is, should government wait for people to die, thousands of people to die, for blood to flow in those two regions, for houses to be destroyed, to provide solutions to the problems of the people, to provide what some have qualified as a limping spatial status?
Look, I said on this very television, leadership is a great responsibility in the life of your citizen. At the beginning of this crisis, I had an exchange on social media with Ayuk Tabi. He was fighting for a peaceful solution. And when at last they decided to go for a war option, I said it was a wrong idea, because going to war option, suppose you have the means of your policy, you have the means of all your strategy in the long run. I was very easy, because I knew it's the people that will pay the price. So going to war option is a huge responsibility. If we are said so, we need to realize that up to now, so many people have been dying and so on. We need to come back to reasonable options. The reasonable option for me is going to peace option. And I say, actually, the President of the Republic has decided something, some issues. As children, we should try to think about discussing with him on how to implement as fast as possible those solutions. Then after 2-3 years, we can see if it is enough to bring back peace and trust in this nation. We cannot ask all things staying in bush. I say it will be bloody and bloody daily. I don't want us to stop to neglect all these proposals. I think we can start with those proposals and go forward. Those
who are carrying guns, the civilians in the bushes, should drop their guns, come out of the bushes, allow people and students to go to school, and allow business people to go about their activities while looking for the solutions to the problem. Is that what you're saying?
I say so, yes. People should drop down the gun. The government also should find out an opposition actor or organization so that they can be confident in those people, drop down the gun and start thinking about a new region, a new Anglophone regions and so on, living in peace together. I think it's an emergency for everyone.
You're going to be taking part, you and your political party, the Republican Alliance, in the February 20 municipal and legislative elections. When you look at the two Anglophone regions of the country, do you think that it's going to be possible to hold elections in those parts of the country? The American Congress recently said if there is no peace, there can't be election in those two regions.
I will be sincere with you. It is impossible to have election in Anglophone region. Very impossible. Regarding the last pictures I saw, bush everywhere. All the children are going to school with the army everywhere and so on. I don't believe in those areas there will be election. It will be an arrangement between the government and some political parties. And I will be frank, we cannot go for election in those regions, in those conditions. We need to do something so that Cameroon should stay united. If we go to election with this condition, I will call that apartheid democracy. And I'm not happy for that. Our nation should think twice, because we have been facing so many trouble up to now. You don't need to put oil on the fire. I think those who have think about going to election in those regions want a huge blood spread on those areas. I am sure that going to February, the fighters and so on will multiply terrorism acts and so on, just like they have burnt the house of the vice president of the parliament, and they will be going more and so on. I think all the Anglophone politicians should come out as one man and speak at a loud with one voice. It's time for them to show that They are not opportunists, but politicians.
In one of your publications, you said, one village, one vote, and you proceeded by saying in the French language, le chemin de l'équité et de l'égalité des terroirs pour consolider notre unité nationale et la République. Can you explain that?
Yes, you know, regarding the law project 246, people have been discussing on social media and debating on television. There are two words people don't want to hear in this country, that is in French, autochtone and allogene and so on. Our real republic is a sum of villages, and every council is a sum of villages. The best way for us to move, frankly, in equity and equality is that every council, we need to have one village, one vote in every council, so that every village will have to express its voice. And a village can realize that there is someone living in our village that has made its proofs, has developed our village and our council, and invest him as councillor. That is an option for us to develop more national integration without frustration of any council. The actual process of municipal council is colonial process. We don't need to stand on that one. A republic, an African republic, is a sum of villages. If that law is valid for Yabasi, it will be valid to Batibo and so on. There will be no frustration. But if someone come in Yabasi, for example, integrate in Yabasi, at the time, Yabasi people can say, why not invest this guy because he has been doing a big job? For example, in Yabasi, we had so many Anglophones that are well integrated. They are thinking about thinking politics in our region. And so, just because they are well integrated, they have been accepted just like members of that village. And the best way for us is to go for that way. If Babila, for example, is well accepted in Bonaberi or everywhere, those people will recognize Babila is a good guy, he's been doing his job fine, and we need to invest him as our representative. So we need to change the law and go for one village, one vote at all municipal councils, so that we will face towards a new republic, a real republic, according to African rules and so on.
Right. You just said earlier that elections cannot take place in the present context in the Northwest and Southwest regions, and you said that organizing elections in this context will be qualified as apartheid democracy. Why haven't you joined? When I'm talking about you, I'm referring to your political party, the Republican Alliance. Why have you not joined the CRM, the CPP, and the PAP and others to say there should be no elections until the Anglophone crisis is solved? Because to those parties that I just mentioned, the Anglophone crisis should be the priority now for government and not elections.
Look, I'm the actual mayor of Yabasi. And you realize that my political party has not invested any other council, either on the parliamentary election or council local election. You see why? Because I'm considered as the guardian of Yabasi actually. I will not drop down the key to dog and frogs and so on. I need to defend my council, so that if ever someone feel himself able to challenge me, he will come and challenge me first. If I was not invested as mayor, I will have dropped everything I will say and said I will not go for any election.
All right.
My reason now is that we need to protect that land of Yabasi regarding what has been done in the past, so that nobody will do that to Yabasi people again.
Mayor Jacques Mabula of the Yabasi Council, National President of the Republican Alliance, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Babila.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Goodbye.